Hey, what's up, everybody? DFS Rico coming at you with my picks and insight for this MLB 8-game slate on Monday, August 3rd. We got an 8-gamer. This weekend went pretty solid. This slate's looking good. I like this slate. It doesn't look like any games are postponed or canceled as of yet, so hopefully that doesn't change. But yeah, before I get into it, if you could like, comment, subscribe, I really do appreciate it. Over here on my YouTube, I will just be breaking down some of my favorite cash slash smaller GPP plays. But over on my Patreon, which is $10 a month, I am offering like more so GPP and just leverage plays, and especially in baseball, it can benefit a lot just because of the fact that baseball is such a volatile sport that, I mean, Coors Field could be projected very high and they can end up just not showing up both sides of the game. It happens, that's just baseball for you. But I do just do kind of like more GPP leverage videos over there for, as of right now, just for baseball, basketball, and then I do League of Legends videos over there as well. That's really all I'm covering. I do have like channels in the Discord where we do talk about other things, but for the most part, it's just those three. Those are the only ones I really like to give content out because those are the only ones I know so much about. But yeah, let's get to it. Like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it, guys. Let's get to it. So, first thing we're going to start with is two of the pitchers that I like. I'll briefly scroll through some of these other guys like DeGrom. You got Garrett Cole in the middle of DeGrom and Buehler. Looking at the matchups, I mean, you think Buehler has the easiest matchup in my opinion, in a sense. They're all going against good offensive teams, but Buehler has the easiest. But the last time I think he went out, he only pitched 3.2 innings. His K upside's really good, but still I have to be very careful. So the first guy I'm really going to talk about is Garrett Cole at 11K. I think he's the best pitcher for cash and the best pitcher for upside in the position that he's in as well. So going over to plate IQ, you check him out. 39% strikeout rate for him. His xFIP 2.43. His walk percentage is solid. Fly ball rate and his hard hit's the only thing that's really close to an issue, but it's not really that big of an issue. Good pitcher. I mean, these guys over here, they really do struggle versus a righty. They don't have a lot of their best hitters, in my opinion, are righties. You got McCutchen, Hoskins. They haven't played in a while either, if I remember right. They haven't played since the 25th. So they got McCutchen, Hoskins, Real Muto, Segura. They got about 5 to 6 righties, and that's most of their best hitters other than Bryce Harper. Not really interested too much in Philly, but I could see people playing them in a GPP spot. But I mean, Garrett Cole's just a stud versus lefties versus righties. A lot better versus righties. As far as his WOBA and his ISO, his K percentage though goes up 9% versus lefties. So you can see him striking out Bryce Harper. You can see him striking out Gregorius, Bruce. He's just good. I mean, I think he's going to be the best bet for cash. Stuck in between two of the really good pitchers in the league as well. So I will be plugging in Garrett Cole in my cash, smaller GPP. I think he's kind of a lock in that sense. And then you start scrolling down. You got Soroka. You got Thorpe, Paddock. It says Anderson's on the injured leave. Okay. Oh, he's playing though. Yeah, it's because of the games that got postponed. Montaz, Rodon. He looked terrible in his first game. Next guy we're going to talk about is Frankie Montas. 7.2K going against Seattle. I know a lot of people have been talking about targeting Seattle this season. I just think he makes a decent pairing with Garrett Cole because of salaries. It's going to be pretty expensive. There's some really expensive bats on this slate, but the pitching is not as amazing. I think it's going to go one or two ways. You're either going to pay up for pitcher, kind of like this, for cash and smaller GPP and find ways to fit some of the bats in. Or you're going to have to pay down at pitchers, both pitchers like Montez and somebody else, which I'll go over on the Patreon, and pay up for bats. So plenty of ways you can go today. That's the wonderful thing about baseball. So looking over at Frankie Montas, he's going against Seattle. He hasn't been as good as he was like last season, it looks like. His Ks haven't been that good. He's been having trouble walking guys. decent amount of hits in both games. The fact that he's not striking out as many people is what's really causing the issue. 25.6 strikeout rate dating back to last season. 3.70 xFIP. His walk percentage is solid. His ground balls, his fly ball. He's a really good pitcher. And at 7.2, I think that's a really big discount against a team that's not that special in my opinion. I mean, they've been playing pretty decent. I mean, you got guys like Crawford. Seager's been playing pretty solid lately. Crawford's practically gotten a point in every single game. Then you got Kyle Seager's been playing very solid. I think he hit a home run the other day. No, he hasn't hit a home run, but earlier in the season. He's just filling up the stat line. A lot of these guys are playing super solid, so I can't really complain too much about them. And I know people have been trying to pick on them, but they've actually been pretty decent. This is one of those sets where it could bite you in the butt, but I'll take my chances with his price tag. You see how good he is versus lefties versus righties. His WOBA's good. He struggles obviously a little more versus lefties because of the splits, but it's not drastically worse, so I'm not too worried. And I'll just take my chances with them. There's not a lot of the cheaper pitchers that I'm too interested in today. I think he's just a good play. He's going against Seattle. They're playing in Seattle, which is a pitcher's ballpark as well. Whether they played in Oakland and Seattle, it's a good pitcher's ballpark. So he's in a good spot. Those are kind of the two pitchers I'm looking at for cash and smaller GPPs. Up next, we're going to go into the bats. For that, I'm going to need like the starting lineups. Just scrolling down these Vegas odds. I mean, you're seeing guys, you see the Yankees up there, 6.12. A lot of these games don't even have over-unders yet, which is kind of worrisome. Scrolling down, you got Kansas City, Chicago, no over-under there. San Francisco, you got the Colorado Rockies coming in at 7.06 with the highest run implied total, followed by, I believe, as of right now, it is the Yankees, and then the Giants. Obviously, they're playing in Coors Field, so we know how much that bumps everybody up. With that, you will see a bunch of price increases on the guys as well, which we'll go over on DraftKings in a bit. So let's go over to the Colorado-San Francisco game. You're going to start looking at a lot of these hitters. I mean, you got Trevor Story, the highest priced guy, at 5.9. Yastrzemski. Yastrzemski. Yep, there you go. Been playing really solid this season. Look at his fantasy points per game. Been super solid. Got priced up to 5.9. Then you got followed up by 3 Colorado guys. Blackman, Arenado, David Dahl. Then back to a bunch of San Francisco guys. So just looking at it early on, as far as the matchup, I mean, it's Coors Field. Both teams have been playing pretty solid as far as runs scored. Colorado just finished that series with the Padres, and they played really solid, scoring a ton of runs. Good amount of runs in every game, enough to win a slate. So that's a good thing you want to see. And they're both going against bad pitchers, so that's kind of what I want to talk about. Cueto's in a tough spot. Really struggles big versus lefties. Decent versus righties, but I think he gets a bump down because he is playing in Coors Field. So I would bump these numbers down a little bit. But versus lefties, he struggles. You see all this red as well, but his K percentage drops 4%. His walk percentage is bad still. His ground ball rate drops a ton. His line drives, his fly balls at 41%, which you don't want to see, especially at Coors Field. So you're going to want to play the lefties. You're going to want to play Dahl, Blackman, Murphy, McMahon. Blackman is the best guy for sure, obviously, at hitting a lefty. 0.386 WOBA, 0.248 ISO, 38.9% hard hit percentage. He's been playing really solid as well. I mean, all of these guys have been playing really solid. Just putting up good numbers. Like I said, they just came out that series against the Padres, and they're playing again at home. So I expect them to have another good weekend. It's going to be kind of tough to get to them because you're going to have to find spots to be cheap. And if people are going to be coming in with Garrett Cole and Montez, you're going to need to find spots to pay down. Like I did mention, I do like David Dahl at 5.3K. Looking over at the starting lineups, you're going to go over to Colorado, you're going to go over to San Francisco. I think I prefer a little more San Francisco just because they are a little cheaper. They're playing in the same ballpark. They've been playing super solid. They're projected less as well. In my opinion, you're gonna have to find spots to pay down at it as well, which will make it kind of tough. So I mean, I like Dahl, like I mentioned. Scrolling down, you got guys down here in the 4Ks. Murphy, Sanchez at 3.9. I think I was seeing Tony Walters. He's not obviously the best hitter, but he's a lefty going against righty, which he doesn't do that bad against. As far as his medium rate, he's getting contact as well. 81% contact rate was like what I really want to see. The fact that he's causing contact at home especially, it's going to give him a nice little bump, and he's only 3.9K, so I could see playing like a wraparound with him, you know, playing some stack with like Walters, Dahl, Story, Black, something like that. But you're going to have to find fillers, just spots everywhere, maybe some cheaper teams to fill in some of these guys, because they are going to get, I mean, you plug in David Dahl and you plug in Blackman, you're at 3.4K per bat. So we'll make it pretty hard. David Dahl and Blackman, you got those guys. Those are the two teams I kind of wanted to talk about in this sense. But like I said, I like the San Francisco guys going against Gonzalez as well. No strikeout, walks a ton of guys, bat against lefties, bat against righties. So if you want to be a little different, I think you play the San Francisco side. But that's just me. They're a little cheaper, and then you'll be able to get a piece of Coors Field as well. Next guys I want to talk about, the Minnesota guys. I think they're coming in pretty cheap. I do like them. They're in a good spot versus Holland. Looking over at Holland, not good versus righties. 22% strikeout rate, 11.9% walk percentage. His fly balls and his hard hit bump a ton. If you look at his numbers, lefties versus righties, really solid versus lefties. You see these numbers? Very, very good. I mean, just good. He's not a strikeout guy, but his ground balls, his line drives, his fly balls are good. 72% ground ball rate. It's insane. But then you go over to righties, not so good as WOBA, his ISO. His K rate bumps up a little, but that's the only thing that increases. His walk percentage goes up. His ground ball goes down by about 50%. You got his line drives tripling. His fly balls tripling. His hard hit rate almost doubling. He's just not good versus righties, and this Minnesota Twins lineup has really good righties. I mean, you got Garver leading off. He's pretty pricey on DraftKings. You got Polanco, switch hitter. We know how good he is if he can get on base. But the hard hit rate on Garver and Cruz is just super solid. 57% hard hit rate. Then you got Sano at 56%. The righties are going to be able to punish this guy. I mean, if you can find a way to fit a lot of these righties in from this team, I will be very interested in that. Nelson Cruz, we know he has a ton of pop out there in the outfield. I mean, you got Kepler, 4.1. I know he's a lefty, but he's one of those guys that can get you a home run against anybody, it seems like. Donaldson looks like he's day-to-day at 3.9. I don't think he's playing. Just scrolling down, just keep scrolling. I mean, if we look at their projected starting lineup, you go to Minnesota. I know their over-under is not in yet, but you got Garver, Polanco, Cruz. You got 2.9. Marwin Gonzalez, not bad. Adrianza, 2.6. Byron Buxton at 3K. I mean, you got some cheap guys in there that you could fill in the lineup with as well. Looking over at Plate IQ. I mean, you got Buxton at the bottom. That's pretty good versus lefties. 0.23 ISO, 0.38 WOBA, 41% hard hit rate. So that's something I want to see. I mean, you got Gonzalez, very good, 40% hard hit rate. You got a bunch of these cheap guys you can kind of plug in. Like if you don't want to play, let's say, Nelson Cruz, you can play Buxton down there. 3K already bumps that number up a little bit. And then you got Marwin Gonzalez, you can plug him in at third base, then you're back up to 3,700. So you got a couple pieces from the Minnesota side, you got a couple pieces from the Colorado side. Just depends which way you want to go. I personally like both of them. So finding ways to fit both of these teams in, whether it's a 5-3 stack or just finding bats to get cheap. You're gonna have to find cheap bats to fit in if you want to play the Colorado stack, or if you want to play the San Francisco stack, or if you want to play any other expensive stacks, because you will be paying up for Garrett Cole, so it will make it a little harder for you to fit in some of these expensive bats, and you're just gonna have to find spots. Hopefully there's not injuries, but there will be some cheap bats that eventually come in. So I know you will be able to fit them in, but you will have to be patient till they come in. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.